Hi guys, it's Sophie and welcome to Spin a Good Yarn. This is everything I knit in 2025 and it's been a really productive year. I have so much more sitting next to me than I thought I would, and a lot of it isn't also here. So this is like almost everything I knit in 2025 that I'll show you, but I do have my laptop with me so that I can talk you through and just put an image up, either this side or that, of the projects that I don't have here to show you. Some of them have been gifted. I did quite a lot of gift knitting this year. A third of everything I knit was for gifts, so a number of my projects have come out of my house. Some of them have met a demise, so either been frogged or been shrunk by my husband, which is like a not insubstantial amount of projects this year, so we're working on that for 2026. And some are in storage because we are moving shortly, so some I don't have access to, some have been gifted, some are no longer with us. I'm going to show you the ones that are first, and I'm going to do my best to go through by category. So the first garment that I wanted to share today is actually the one I'm wearing. This is the last garment that I knitted in 2025, and this is the Northern Augustine's number 9. Because I'm wearing it, I am actually going to stand up and just show you some of the details. So here we go, here's the sweater. It's an all over colourwork sweater, all the way down the arms as well. It is modified here with the tree panel. That panel is not in the original design, and this is what the neckline looked like. I went with the designer's recommended neckline, and I did actually also knit this one in the recommended yarn. So this is Creya Deluxe Organic Wool 1 held with Creya Deluxe Silk Mohair, which was a really gorgeous, probably the best yarn combination I've ever worked with. It's incredibly soft. If you're looking for a really luxury garment, I would really recommend the Creya line. I've also knit with their organic cotton. Yeah, really enjoyed it. Thought this pattern was great fun. It was my first all over colourwork, and I really enjoyed it. So yeah, definitely one I would recommend. The next garment I have is actually the second one that I knitted in the year, and it is this one here, which is the Step by Step sweater, which is a pattern by Florence Miller. It's incredibly popular for a reason. And this was knitted in Nora Ito in the shade Ayase, A-Y-A-S-E, which I absolutely love. This is probably my most worn item, tied with maybe the next one I'm going to talk about, of clothing that I made. I love this one. I made it for my birthday. As my birthday knit, and it knitted up so quickly. The yarn is worn okay. It is pilling a little bit with wear, but I have worn it so much and it's not held with anything, so kind of okay with that. I would definitely knit with it again because of the colour range, and I love the Noro yarns for that, so it hasn't put me off, but it does just need a little bit of upkeep if you're going to wear it as often as I have. Then the next one I'm going to show you is the one that I think probably ties in first place for the most worn garment, and it is this one here, which is cardigan number 9 by My Favourite Things Knitwear. You can't properly see the buttons really. Hang on, let me do them up for you so that we can have a look at them properly. Whilst I'm doing that, I'll just bring out my Ravelry so that I can tell you the yarn. So this was knit up in West Yorkshire Spinners, the Croft Aran in the shade, let's have a look, in the shade Claret, and held with the Knitting for Olive mohair. And this is what that one looks like. I did go for toggle buttons in this pattern, and I love this design so much. I'm pretty sure it's saddle shoulder. Yeah, it's a saddle shoulder design. So you work the 2 saddle shoulders and then sort of go around them, and then go sort of round and round and round as you go. I'm pretty sure the button band and the collar is knit separately from memory, and that the sleeves are picked up and just knitted through, but it felt like a fairly quick knit, this one, and I just wear it so much. I would definitely knit this one again. I think the colour helps. This is like one of my favourite colours to wear, but I could really see myself wearing this one in the black actually, of just like a really basic black cardigan, and it's definitely a pattern I'd recommend. I know it's really popular, but it is one that I've got so much wear out of. And definitely in 2026 I need to knit more cardigans, because that is the only hand knitted cardigan in my wardrobe at the moment, and yeah, I definitely need some more. The next garment is this one, which is sweater number 29, again from My Favourite Things Knitwear, I want to say. Yeah, I'm correct. And this is an all over cabled jumper. There is, and you can probably tell, some striping from the skeins that I use. This is hand dyed, and I didn't alternate skeins for this project, so there is like a notable stripe in there, but it doesn't really bother me. I've worn this a fair amount. It's super warm and cozy. It is also pretty oversized for me. So I knit this one in the size large, but I did use a superwash yarn, so it bloomed a lot. And this is, as I said, a hand-dyed yarn, so it's actually Loom Wool's it's actually Loom Wool's DK weight, which is BFL and Mashin, and this is in the colour Evermore. I just love it. It's just such a fun white, but with like little specks of colour. I'll bring the jumper up to you just so you can see the yarn a little bit better. But that's what it looks like. I think the stitch definition on it is actually really nice, and it's just a really pretty combination. And I held that one with Rowan Kid Silk Haze, which is a really nice quality mohair. Again, I think second probably to the Crow Deluxe as the highest quality mohair that I've used this year, but really enjoyed that one. I would say possibly just because it's so oversized, it hasn't had as much wear as I thought it might have done. I think I maybe want a slightly more structured cable pattern to be my next like all over cabled piece. Something like the book club cardigan really appeals, if I'm honest, but I just didn't get around to it in this last year. And then the last adult size jumper I made was this one, which is the Cinema Sweater by Kudobi Kika. And I will put in some pictures of me wearing this one because it just looks like a block. Like, it is so wide. And I actually wasn't sure whether I loved this when I first knitted it because I wasn't quite sure how to wear it, how to style it. But over time it has become a really like essential piece in my wardrobe, and I would recommend it. I would just say that I got recommended gauge on this. Row gauge was perfect, and it's all knit to length. It is massively wide, like in the size that is recommended. It has so much ease. So do just bear that in mind. I think I hadn't quite understood how much ease it had when I was knitting it, and I probably would have just sized down one, whilst I really love the object, and I think the oversizedness and the way that the garment like falls under the arms, like it does lift when you lift your arms up a lot. I do think I could have got away with having a smaller size and maybe just adding a bit more length, but yeah, that's the Cinema Sweater by Kudobi Kika. Sorry, also I should have said this was knitted in a Knitting for Olives merino, held double in the shade navy. So just, yeah, a real classic basic. Then I think it might be good to just chat briefly about child size garments. I only have one physically here to show you. My son is wearing the other one today, which I didn't plan out well this morning when I got him dressed for nursery, sorry. But the first one of these is this one. I love this one so much. I will do the buttons up for you. And this is the confetti cardigan. And let me just find the details of the yarn I used. There you go, that's it with its buttons all done up. It's mega cute. It has this really cool detail of like, it's just a decorative little I-cord along the back edge that I really like. That's just knitted with a tiny bit of scrap mohair. But the yarn that I used for this one was Drops Fiesta in the colour Winter Carnival, which is number 27. And this one is knitted in a reverse shaker's rib. And kind of like brioche. But it just has some really lovely details. This I believe, it's by Nash Knits. I believe there's an adult version. So if this design appeals, since I've knitted it, I'm pretty sure they have come out with an adult size. So that's what it looks like. It's really cute. These buttons were just from Wool Warehouse. It's their like multicoloured ceramic buttons. But I particularly just love this little I-cord detail where the stitches are picked up. I think it's something I could incorporate into future projects for myself. So the one he's wearing today, I don't have that many photos of, and I don't want to show photos I have of him wearing it. So I'm just going to put one photo up here, but it's a sibling sweater by Laura Penrose, and I did actually knit this in along with like Anna's double merino in the shades Amethyst and June. And yeah, it was a really quick little pattern. I made this one in, I want to say it's like 9 to 12 months maybe. So he's right at the very end of wearing it, which is why I put him in it today, because when I was like getting through his clothes the other day, I was like, he needs to get a last wear and then it needs to be washed and put away. But yeah, it was a really easy pattern. I could definitely see myself reknitting this one. It's very just like, I think because it's striped and it's small, it's just very fast. It just feels very satisfying. So yeah, it's definitely a child's pattern I would recommend. And I think the naming of it as a sibling sweater is so clever too, because it's definitely one I could see, like, if you had multiple children, like passing them down to the younger sibling and keep knitting on sizes up. Yeah, so that was really cute. So let's chat through summer garments next. So none of these I have to show you, just forewarning. They're either in my loft or they no longer exist. And the first one is actually one that no longer exists, which is my Sabai top. This one was super popular over the summer, and I saw a load of people knitting it and it looked fabulous in them, and it looked terrible on me, I feel like. I have one picture that I can show you. I think the lack of shaping in the garment just meant that it really didn't flatter my body as a person with a bigger bust circumference. And I feel like I just felt like I was wearing a piece of fabric tied around my shoulders. Like, it didn't really feel like a garment. I don't think that was anything to do with the way I knitted it. I genuinely just don't think it's a pattern that is as flattering on bigger busted people. I think, I'm sure there's some people who wear it amazingly with a bigger bust, but I think the lack of shaping can make it tricky, right? So it didn't kind of sit on my body the way that it sat on the body of people who didn't have the bust that was lifting up the front part of that garment, and the way that it sat just wasn't something I was happy with. So that one I actually did donate. So it does still exist, I guess, somewhere in the world, because there was nothing wrong with the garment, and I made it in a size medium, so it wasn't as though anyone who wore it was going to have horrendous fit issues. It could definitely be something I could see other people styling and being happy with, but I just didn't like the way it was fit on my body. And I did use Sanders Garnaline for that one. I think it was just in the colour grey. I can't remember what shade that was called. Oh, I just have a number, it's 3820. And I was okay with using that yarn. Like, it wasn't my favourite, if I'm honest. I preferred some of the other fibres that I worked with. But yeah, it looked fairly soft. I only wore it a couple of times, so I'm sure it would have got softer over time. But yeah, that one no longer exists in this house. I then knit the Moonset tee, which was my first fingering weight t-shirt. And again, I really enjoyed the construction of this one, particularly how the v-neck came together. This one was by Zeta, and the v-neck comes together in a different way to the Harlow, but both had that sense of like, how is this v-neck going to work? And then it just does. It was great. I'm pretty sure you knit the v-neck of this one alongside knitting. Yeah, you do, alongside knitting the body. And again, it has quite a deep drop shoulder. So once you get to the bottom of the V, it does go fairly quickly considering its fingering weight. And I had really good fun knitting with this one. I actually knit it in sock yarn. I knit it in hedgehog fibres in the colour Ghost, because I saw that skein at my local yarn store, and the colour just like, I just had to knit with it. It was so good, and I didn't want it to just be a pair of socks. So yeah, I went for it, and I think it only took like 2.5 skeins, so it wasn't too bad at all. And that was in a size 4. And I wore this one a lot last year. It's one I would definitely consider knitting again, and knitting in a different fibre as well. Another one which is no longer with us, and RIP, because I love this top, is my shell tee, which I actually test knitted for the Knit Pearl Girl and had such a fun time doing it. She ran a great test knit. And I knitted this one in Loom Wool's alpaca linen, which is such a fun combination of yarns to knit with. I think I chose that one as it was almost exactly the same composition as the yarn from the Camel's yarn that she was using to knit her sample in. And I really enjoyed it. It was a great like summer top and really wearable. I can't remember these shades. I think Milk Tea is the sort of beige shade, and then Murmuration is that green shade. And I actually have it on my projects, like my Make 9 basically, for this next year to reknit this because I loved it so much. My husband shrunk it in the wash and it was like this big. It broke my heart, I've got to be honest. That was my saddest felted object of the year. Yeah, I don't know how I need to help him not wash things. That we have like a basket as well in our house where all of the things that are hand knitted go, but somehow it got shrunk. And then the last summer top that I knitted was the Margot top, and this one's by Gregoria Fibres, and I knitted this one in Kremka Soul wool in the colour Rusty Red. And this one, right, I love the finished object. I wear it all the time. I wear it to work a lot and I'm really happy with it. but this pattern and I battled it out. Like, I for some reason, kept getting the rib wrong. And I think I figured out after the fact what it is that's different about and what it is I was fighting with. I'm pretty sure that I have one less repeat of rib in each repeat than the pattern allows. So I was always on the wrong row the whole way through the pattern, because I had to frog this thing so many times. And when I filmed the video, I was like, I don't know what it was. Maybe I just can't count. But looking at my photos and looking at other people's, I do think my rib looks a bit short. So I think that's what I did. I think I just miscounted the first one, and then I wasn't working from the pattern. I was just working from like reading my knitting, and then following that through meant I was always on the wrong side of the work. Or like I particularly when you were working flat, I was like, what is going on? Like, it's completely backwards. I don't understand. But I wore this one an awful lot, and I did enjoy the pattern, like the visual effects of the pattern, if not the fact I made it harder for myself, right? So now we're into accessories. There's going to be a lot of accessories that have been felted because I've knitted a lot of socks this year, and my husband is no good at washing socks. We have a rule that if it is at all knitted, leave it, don't wash it. But every now and again he's like, oh, it's superwash, I'll put it in the washing machine. And I just don't do that full stop, because the amount of times that things are felted are because he's accidentally dried them. So I'm just like, don't put it anywhere near the machine that does the felting, and I will deal with it. So the first one is the plum pudding socks, which I knitted in John Arben's Exmoor sock in the colour Bluth. Felted, gone, but here's a lovely picture of what they look like. Then I have the snow crocus socks. Oh, plum pudding socks, by the way, sorry. I name they're the hibernal socks. I name them plum pudding socks because they're my Christmas socks for 2024. I finished them after 2024, but that's why they're called that. So yeah, sorry, I will make sure I actually look up the names. And then these I call my snow crocus socks, but they are actually in the colour Cuff Club. I think maybe her first design from like April by Summer Lee, and these just have little flower on the cuffs, they're super cute, and then just plain vanilla sock basically in the foot. And this was another loom wool. I loved loom wool and the way she dyes, it's just great. And this was her simple sock in the colour Clefautis. And luckily these ones made it, because these are one of my favourite socks of the year. They are well worn, I'm afraid, but they are clean. I then remade another pair of socks with a leftover of Exmoor Bluth that I had, which I called the plum pudding and brandy cream socks, which were also the hibernal socks. And they were also felted by my husband. I haven't made another pair of hibernal socks since, because maybe it's just cursed. But yeah, I knit the same socks pretty much twice, and they did both die. Then I knit my husband a pair of socks, and I used John Arben's Exmoor sock again, this time in the colourway. Oh gosh, I don't think I have it, I didn't record it. It's like this. It's like a green. You can probably find it. Hang on. Let me look for you. It was in Hemel. Just having a look at the shade cards now. Yeah. So knitted those ones up, and those were from the Hello Sailor sock set by Summer Lee, and I think they were called the Broken Rope socks. They're broken rib basically. And these no longer exist because my husband loved them so much that there was no sock left under his foot basically. I've never seen socks deteriorate in the way that they did, just because he wore them so often. So whilst he is felting things, he is also appreciating the knits that he has. But yeah, he really loved those and has asked for another pair of socks knitted in rib because he really liked that. Then I have just a pair of vanilla socks. I tend to use the I'm So Basic sock as my kind of standard vanilla sock, and throughout the year I've then tweaked it to kind of get it to exactly the right place for me. And this is knitted in hedgehog fibres in the colour Film Noir. I think is really pretty. I'll show you just a little bit closer up. So that's what the yarn looks like. I think they are really sweet. Next we have my favourite socks of the year. It's the Quilty Cabin socks by Crooked River Crochet, and I love this design. I really want to reknit this sock. It's just so satisfying, and the colourwork's so short, it just goes. And I knitted this in the Woolen Witch in in her sock base, and this is the colourway Scarab Beetle. Again, I will give you a nice close-up of this one. So you may have seen these socks. I think they were pretty popular, but the quilt motif is so cute, and I love the tones. Sorry, again, all of these socks are clean, but have been well worn. I love the colourway of this yarn, the purples and the dark greens. It's just so moody and perfect. Then I made my husband a pair of vanilla socks in the colourway Oil Slick by James Makes Yarn. Just vanilla sock, again, his vanilla sock, and I will show you the yarn close up. So vibrant. I think James Makes Yarn does such fun colours, and you probably noticed as we've been filming, I'm a muted colour girly, but my husband loves the bright colours. So yeah, he's worn these ones a lot, but he hasn't yet turned them into nothing underneath. I think because I knitted him his broken rib socks in that, like, the beginning of the year, he just has worn them. I would probably say he wore those socks like probably like 3 days a week. So yeah, they were just very well loved. Then the next pair of socks I knitted were actually another one for my husband, and they're a little bit messed up. Like, I wouldn't have knitted them in the way I did, which is why he got them. They were originally going to be for me, and they were just like, I'm not happy with them, and he was like, I'd love them. So these are just a pair of vanilla socks in a self-striping yarn by Nomadic Yarns, and the colourway is Space Dad. I think that her dyeing is just amazing. I'm really excited to knit more of it, but I made mistakes. So the first thing was I was scared to try and learn a new heel construction, and I should have done my heel flap and gusset in a contrasting yarn, and I didn't. Just carried on. So I messed up the self-striping pattern on both, and I was like, oh, it's fine. What's that on the bottom of his, like, Velcro? So then I was like, oh, it's fine, I'll just do a contrasting toe and I'll have plenty of yarn. But my maths was off, because these are like, this part of the yarn, I think, was maybe like the gauge was just a bit different to my usual, so I didn't have enough, and I was just left with like this weird enormous toe. So I was like, I hate them. My husband was like, I'll have them, I love them. And I think it's a shame, because I really love the yarn. It was just my own mistake, really. I don't even know if I've shown those on the internet. I feel kind of embarrassed. The toe, by the way, is in Hedgehog Fibres Sin, which is just a bright red that I'm currently knitting a pair of rib socks myself in, but they were just like the closest thing I had. So yeah, anyway, I need to be more mindful of like how much I actually have to make my socks, and not do the same thing again when I make my next pair. Then I have another pair of vanilla socks. This one knitted in Pebbles on the Beach by Bird Street Yarn. And I will say, of all of my socks, these have held up the least well. So the colourway is gorgeous, but can you see at the top? And like, if I kind of go along the edge, you may be able to see, like, there you go. Like these are really bobbly. And I think it's just because the yarn is soft. So, sorry. So I think the colours are beautiful, but they were only finished in, when were these finished? These are only finished in October, and they are really showing their wear, whereas the socks we've gone through so far, like some of them are from January and they look pretty much new. So I would say just bear that in mind. It's not that I wouldn't recommend their yarn, I just think with socks I'm less likely to want to do the effort of deep hilling. So keep that in mind if you like low effort socks like I do. Then I knitted a modified ruffle sock. So I did use the Petite Knit ruffle cuff, which asks you to cast on extra stitches and then decrease them, and then you work a cuff so that the ruffle's at the bottom. I do kind of wish I just kept the ruffle at the top. I think that would have been cuter. And then I worked a 3x1 rib. Just put my hand in so you can see a bit better. I worked a 3x1 rib the whole way down the sock and stockinette on the foot. I really wanted these in a neutral colour, and I'm really glad I have them. I think as much as I love fun hand-dyed sock yarn and all the different variegated colours and stuff, it was really fun just to have a pair of like white socks that I can wear with anything. And this is another Bird Street yarn, and this one is in the colour Latte. And I will say, I think they're the same base. These haven't done as badly, so I don't know whether maybe it's just different between different skeins or dye lots, but these I think have done badly so far. So maybe these are holding up just a bit better. But yes, I didn't love the yarn, but I really like the colour. I think when I was knitting it was just a little bit slippy. So yeah, I think what I would say is I really like their colourways, and I'm knitting a jumper out of their colourway Mallard in a DK weight, and I love it for garments. Like, I think it's really fun. I don't really mind depilling garments because I just feel like it's a bit more worth it. But I am just aware of that with socks. And then my last socks of the year are these, just another vanilla sock. We did lots of vanilla sock knitting this year. And this one is my Christmas sock. So this was knitted in West Yorkshire Spinners, signature 4-ply, in the colourway Nutcracker, which is just, again, a nice little self-patterning sock. And there is a bit of sparkle, you can see, to those. Yeah, so I enjoyed those ones. And I did wear them on Christmas Day, and I wore them like around Christmas Day as well, which was lovely. And I do think that like commercially dyed sock yarns hold up pretty well. So yeah, I was pretty happy with those. I think let's do gloves next. So I knitted, I think, just 2 pairs of gloves this year. The first ones are these, which are the Chantel knits. Now again, I'll show you those ones close up. But these were by Veronica Knit. I'll try and move the red away. I feel like the 2 contrasting reds are not doing themselves any favours, because this is quite like a carroty red and this is a very much like a Christmas red. But I love the design of these. I think they look really nice. I will just show you the thumb shaping as well, because I think the thumbs look really cute. No, they're just like a basic hand warmer type glove. I think they do come with a closed tip option as well. But I fancied having them with open so that I could knit and wear them. And these are knitted in Cardiff Cashmere Classic. The colourway is escaping me at the moment. Let me see if I have it on my Ravelry. Yeah, this is in the colourway Hermes, which is, like I said, a really carroty bright red. I do think I suit a darker toned red, like a darker, I don't know, a cooler toned red, I guess is what I'm trying to say. But it's a lovely yarn and I really love the pattern. I think this would be a really good gift knit idea for someone. I lie, I made 3 pairs of gloves. I've knitted a lot, I feel like. The second ones that I have are these, which are just a tiny, like, self-drafted, like, hand warmer that I made from hand spun. I feel like it's awkward me having to keep jumping off the chair, but it does let me show you the yarn up close. So this is merino with sari silk throughout, and yeah, I just wanted something to use up a fairly small amount of hand spun. My first time spinning merino, my first time spinning with sari silk, and I think these are pretty cute. My husband absolutely loves them though, so I do have another quantity of hand spun merino in a different colour, like a pink and a red, that I may make the same mittens in and kind of just give him these because they are a little big on me, but I really love them too, so maybe I'll keep them. Maybe I shall keep them in case he felts them. And the last pair of gloves that I made are just these tiny little mittens that my son has on his nursery bag today. I have like one bad photo of these, so apologies. I will put the bad photo up. But these are the Rita family mitts, and I knitted these in the leftover yarn from my cardigan number 9. So that was the West Yorkshire Spinners Aaron Croft in Belmont. And yeah, he hates them because he hates having anything on his hands, but they work, they keep him warm. And I just added an I-cord, which isn't actually in the photo, but I added an I-cord just the length of his, like the back of one of his jumpers that fits him well at the moment, and just attached that myself. There wasn't instructions in the pattern on how to do that. I just kind of just did it just because he hates gloves, so we'll throw them off, but he gets really cold hands. So yeah, they were like a dead quick knit. I'm not surprised I forgot that I did that. Then scarves. So I have 2 scarves to show you, but most of them are gift knits. So I gift knitted 2 Sophie scarves in the same colour in Cardiff Cashmere Classic in Sakura. I'll show you just a picture of one, which were gift knits for my mum and a friend. And yeah, super popular. I don't need to say much more about that petite knit pattern. I'm sure everyone's heard of it. Then I knitted next this one, which is a shawl, I suppose. This is the colour block shawl. Let me just find out the designer's name for you. Justina Lorkowska. I'll put the number up as always, the name up, sorry. But yes, this is a asymmetric shawl, which is knitted from this tip up here, this end, through until here. And I knitted this one in, oh gosh, what are they called? The Crafty Bird. I knitted these in the Crafty Bird's Cozy Sock. And this is was her Fourth Wing collection, and I knitted this whilst I was reading Fourth Wing, and I just had such a fun time. It was really fun, like having these different colours that were named after different characters and being able to read and do that. It was just great. So yeah, if anyone else loved that book series, I'm sure you can understand. And I really enjoyed the colour block as well, actually. I will say that I would totally reknit this pattern. The product images didn't do it for me, but seeing it in colours that I enjoyed, I'm so glad that I knitted this one up. I think it's so fun. And when you kind of have it all together and wear it, I just think it looks like a totally different thing. So yeah, I've worn this one a fair amount, but because of the other scarf I'll show you in a bit, I haven't worn it so much because the other one is just so warm. I've been wearing it a lot through the winter. I wore that one more in the autumn, just like in the mornings on the way into work. Then I knitted 2 patterns by Surrey Nordland that were gift knits. The first was the Victoria shawl. Both of them are all over lace, by the way. And these were knitted as wedding gifts. I just wanted to make some little really pretty shawlettes for the 2 ladies who are getting married, and they're friends of my husband, really. But they just had a really lovely friendship, and I know how much they mean to my husband. So it was really nice to be able to make them something handmade. So yeah, the Victoria shawl is just this little, as I say, little kind of shawl / wrap. And I knitted this one up in Cheshire yarns in the shade Peacock Feather. And that was because I asked them what colours they would like, and one of them was really specific, like this green. So this was the colourway that I found that I could find on the internet that was closest. And it was actually a single, which I think was really nice to knit with in a shawl that's not going to have much pilling and things, but it meant the softness was just really high. It almost felt like a cashmere, though it isn't, just because of the fact that you haven't got those plies that add a bit more grit to the actual product. And they held up really nicely. It was a good single to knit with. They are someone that I've only found on Etsy, so if you're interested, I'm pretty sure they ship worldwide. But yeah, that's Cheshire yarn, and it's hand dyed again. And the other pattern I knitted is probably a bit more well known, but that is the Poet Scarf by Surrey Nordland. And this one I knitted in the shade Teal Me More, but again by Cheshire Yarns. I just thought it was nice to have the same base, so the scarves are similar. And I will say that this yarn was probably a bit too variegated to show the pattern as well as it could have done, but I couldn't find a teal, which was what the other person had asked for, that was more similar to the kind of teal they sent me on their ideas than this one. So I went for the colour because that was what they wanted, over really having pattern definition. So I will say that if I was going to knit this again or for myself, I may have just chosen one that was more single tone, but I still think it looks pretty. And yeah, she was still really happy with it. And it was a really fun one to knit. I really enjoyed knitting both of these all over lace patterns, and if I'm honest, it really inspired me to want to knit more lace into the next years to come. And then the last scarf that I knitted is this one. This is my enormous Berlin scarf, which I knitted up in Sander's Garn Woolscut alpaca, I think Sanders says Woolscut alpaca. And I'm pretty sure I used 6 skeins of this. Yeah, I used 6 full skeins. This is 300 grams of yarn, and I just kept going and going until I'd used up everything. And it is so warm, and so cozy. I wear this all the time. My husband is like, please, can I have one for Christmas next year? It's just so good. I'm really glad that I did actually knit this pattern. It's by Suzanne Miller. I don't know if I said that. I was like, I didn't knit it last year. Maybe it's not that high on my list, but I wear it every day. So this is, yeah, they're not my most worn knit because it has only been, whilst it's been super cold, but I would bet that of the number of days I could have worn it, probably this has been worn more than anything else in my my pile. We're getting down to it now. We're getting into the ends. So hats. We have a couple of hats that no longer exist. We have the Sasky hat, which is by Saskia & Co. And I knitted this one in La Bien-Aimée in the colour Sandstone and Undergrowth, and I think the base is called Mondin. It's just a little colour work hat. It was fun to practice colour work, and yeah, it was like folded over, so from what I remember, it's a little bit like how some people do the muscle grab, where you have like hidden yarn on the inside because it folds in itself. So the colour work, you're only working once, but you've got like a plain inside of the hat, so it's double layered. And this one was fine. I just didn't like it on me. I didn't think I suited the colours, so I did actually frog that project and sold the yarn from it because it didn't suit me and I didn't have enough to knit. Like I didn't want to knit another hat in it because it didn't really suit me. So yeah, nothing wrong with it, nothing wrong with the pattern. It was really fun to knit, more of a process knit, but I just didn't like the product in the end, and that's fine. Then a summer knit that I didn't have with me is the Romanticist bandana. That's by Meredith Campbell, which was just really a way to use up the end ball. I had some left over of my Sans Ganline. It's just a little lacework bandana. It's just fun. It was good. It was that used up almost exactly one ball of Sans Ganline. So if you have a ball hanging around and looking for a project for the summer, I would recommend it. It's in just, yeah, like I said, it's in the same grey colour, the 3028 that I used for my Sabai top. Then I made a little mixed rib hat for my son. This is out of the leftover Noro Ito in the colour A's with the Knitting for Olive mohair that I used for my cardigan number 9, and this is Pearl Soho, Taylor Harris. Is that Pearl Soho? Yeah, that's Pearl Soho by Taylor Harris. So the pattern is by Taylor Harris, but it's published in Pearl Soho. And I'm pretty sure this is a free project, like on Ravelry. And it's Aran Weight. It was super quick, and yeah, he hates it because he hates all his hats, but I think it's kind of cute. That's all I can kind of do. I don't know if anyone else has toddlers. I don't think I mentioned he's a toddler. Maybe people are thinking I'm like a really ungrateful 10-year-old, but he's 18 months old. So if he just doesn't want a hat on his head, he'll pull it straight off. There's nothing I can do about it. But he's worn it a few times. And then I made myself this one, which is the Weekend Hat by Petite Knit, and I'll just show you the yarn up close because it's a really pretty one. And this one was bob it on for you. Let's see. There we go. This one is knitted in a yarn that was spun up by Cold Harbour Mill, which is a working mill in the southwest of England, which is really cool, in the colourway Crocus. And then I held it with Dusty Artichoke by Knitting for Olive and then mohair. And I really wish I hadn't. I wish I'd just done it as is, because it's fine when I'm wearing it for a short period of time. But when I walk around a lot and I get warm, I do find the mohair quite itchy in a hat. I'm not sensitive to it at all on my body. It's just on my forehead. So I think I wouldn't add mohair to hats in the future. But I really like this design. It's a triple folded brim, so it is much more knitting than it originally looks like when you're wearing it. But yeah, it's easy to wear. It's nice and warm. It'll keep you cozy, and yeah, it's definitely a pattern I could see myself like re-knitting. It was very straightforward to knit. I just wouldn't pop the mohair in next time. And then I made my son an everyday balaclava, also by Petite Knit, out of scrap yarn, which he can't take off because I can zip it up into his coat. So this is the hat that we've had him in most of the winter, to be fair, because he struggles to get it off, and also because of how it has the shaping around this is also in his nursery bag today. Because of how it has the shaping, he can like push it back and have it as a hood, which is really convenient for us, because if he is getting a bit hot and a bit annoyed, he can put it off, but he doesn't then like just refuse it, because that's what's happening with the hats, is he would get hot and then he's like, no, I hate hats, why would I ever wear a hat? But the balaclava, because he can himself like chuck it off, and it doesn't mean it flies off onto the floor and we have to stop and make a whole thing, he really likes it. So yeah, it was a tip from my sister-in-law, and it's definitely one I would share if you have a toddler who doesn't like hats. Balaclavas are the way to go. I feel like I've been talking for like an hour about knitting. Thank you so much if you've gotten through this video. I really appreciate it. I knit a lot in 2025. I just want to say, like, the volume, I was on maternity leave for 5 months of the year. Yeah, just over 5 months actually. So really keep that in mind about the volume that I was knitting. My son has always been a really good sleeper, and I've always had probably an uninterrupted 2 hours every day through maternity leave for those 5 months. So that's how I've knitted as much as I have. I have my evenings where he tends to be a really good sleeper, and even in the evenings, and has been for a while, and he's a good sleeper in the day. So yes, bear that in mind. My usual productivity is not quite this high, but I've had a good time, and I do think actually I felt like my husband had felted more things, but he's felted less as the year has gone on, at least. So yeah, some points there. Yeah, let me know what your favourite thing was that you knitted this year. I'd love to know. And let me know if I've inspired you to knit any of these patterns or with any of these yarns. I'll see you guys again soon in my next video, and look after yourselves until then. Bye.